So everyone, I'm with Tracy Carter, who's actually the beekeeper here at this lovely farm. So Tracy, how long have you actually been a beekeeper?
I've been a beekeeper for 10 years now.
Wow.
And I've been here for 6 years.
But how did you get into beekeeping in the first place?
I think it was just something I always wanted to do. And I grew up in Australia, and lots of people in Australia have bees.
Okay.
So I think that influenced me.
Okay, and why is it so important to actually treat bees well?
They do so much for us. They pollinate a lot of the food that we eat. They bring happiness to us and relaxation when we watch them in our garden. But they're just miraculous creatures that we need to protect.
Okay, and tell us about the dangers actually nowadays for bees.
Bees are struggling, sadly. And the main reasons really are diseases, pests and diseases, which come into this country from other countries. Also pesticides that we use here, even in our own gardens. And obviously habitat loss. You know, a lot of wildflower meadows are gone, things like that. So there is a lot of work being done around the country to address that. But we can all do our bit, and that's why lavender is perfect for bees, because they love it. It has a sweet nectar, it has a purple flower that they love.
And why is this particular farm really a happy place for these bees?
Partly because it's organic. Organic is really, really important. So we don't use any pesticides or herbicides or fertilizers on this field. So when the bees are out on the lavender and they're coming back, they're not bringing back anything nasty into the hive. It's just lovely nectar and lovely pollen.
So how many bees do you actually have on this farm? Do you know approximately?
In terms of number of colonies or in terms of bees? Okay, so number of colonies, we've got about 14.
Okay.
Bees, in a hive like this at this time of year, there's about 60,000 bees.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So what we do is we give them a bit of smoke, just a little, and that's like knocking on the front door.
Okay.
To let them know that we're coming in.
Right.
Because if we just lifted off the roof and started, going in there, they mightn't be too happy about it.
Okay. So that just says we're here.
Yes. So there are two parts to a beehive. There's this big box here, which is where the nest is. That's where the queen is, laying all the eggs. These shallower ones are called supers, and that's where they make the honey. So that's all honey under there. When they put that white covering over it, it means it's honey that's ready. And in fact, if we just kind of scratch the top, you can see under there, there's honey.
Yeah, you can see, wow, it's amazing. There's so many of them. It's
I know, and in here, we've got all of the bees being basically bred and born. So this is a very busy area of the hive. And on this
you just
frame,
don't expect that many,
that kind of brown covered cells, those are bees underneath there developing.
Bees?
Yeah, so like bees, we kind of forget that bees, like butterflies and caterpillars and moths, they pupate.
And in their natural habitat, where would they normally have their hives?
Well, they like kind of small cavities. They have very particular requirements for their homes. So they like things like, traditionally, like holes in trees. Things like that. They like chimneys a lot, which often causes problems for people. But really now, because I was saying before about the threats to bees, there aren't many bees left in the wild. So, and when I say bees, I mean honeybees. So, honeybees now survive because they're kept by beekeepers like me, in the UK anyway.
So we're looking for the queen bee now, everyone.
I'm going to show you what a queen looks like, if I can find her. Now she's got a green dot on her. There she is.
Well, what's that green dot?
So we put the green dot on her So she's easier to spot because she's so important.
She's bigger as well, isn't she?
She is bigger. She's got bigger legs. She's got that long kind of pointy abdomen.
Yeah.
Bees are very complex in the way they communicate. They give each other a lot of information. And one of the main ways that they do it is through dancing.
Dancing?
They have different dances that they do to communicate different information. One of the main ones is called the Waggle Dance.
Yeah.
And that's when they wiggle. And that's to tell their other bees that they found good honey, good nectar.
Oh, that's so nice.
And there's even part of a beehive which we call the dance floor because it's where all the dances take place.
With Lorna May, who is the owner of this beautiful farm. Lorna, this place is amazing. The smell's amazing, the view's wonderful. What's it like working here and being here?
Well, yeah, it's a great place to work, and we have a lot of people, a lot of young kids that work for us, a lot of students, and they really enjoy the environment because you're working outdoors, which is always a good thing. And then you've got the beautiful lavender, which appeals to all the senses, really.
And how did Mayfield Lavender Farm come about?
Well, yeah, it came about 13 odd years ago when Brendan came home, my husband came home one day and said, he'd been working on the lavender field for a few years for Yardley, which was an old English lavender brand, and he'd wanted to start growing lavender to try to go back to Yardley's lavender roots. And it took him a while to get the project off the ground to start the lavender project. So he spent the first 3-4 years growing the lavender, and then the company unfortunately was bought, and the people that bought the brand didn't want the lavender field because it was in its infancy then. And so he came home one day and said, I've had a mad rush of blood to the head today and I've agreed to buy the lavender. When I first came up to the field after we took ownership of it, I was thinking, with my marketing background and Brendan's sales marketing managing director's background, we would distill the lavender and then we would create products and sell them on the trade. But the reality was that as soon as we started harvesting and we had the gate open at the entrance to the field, people just flooded into the field asking if they could pick the lavender. We decided the following year to open the field to the general public. We were cutting bunches and we couldn't cut them fast enough. And so the field's just grown and grown every year.
Now you actually have bees here as well, beekeeping, which we tried earlier. Can you tell us a bit about that? How did that come about?
Well, of course, lavender and bees they go hand in hand, and we are an organic lavender farm as well. So we get just all the bees that live in the surrounding area. They come and visit our field at some time, and of course then we have a lot of demand from beekeepers who want to put their hives up here. And so we met Tracy a few years ago, and she came and set up the apiary probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and she's extremely passionate about the bees.
She is.
And she started to do the bee safaris, so she's inviting the general public in to don a bee suit, and a bit like you've done today, and have a look in the hives and see how they work.
So interesting. I love that. What do you personally love most about the farm?
Well, I think obviously we have to work really hard, so we don't see it as always as the visitor might see it.
But I can imagine.
Some people love the smell of lavender and some people don't. But what most people agree on is that the spectacle of it looks absolutely stunning. And
it does.
And when I come up every morning, for me, the field looks a different colour every day. And so I suppose it does. You see people when they walk in, their jaws drop when they see the sight of it. And I have to say that a lot of the time when I walk into the fields in the mornings, before it gets really manic and we're really busy, I do really love to just have a look at the field.
That's your moment.
It is. Yeah. If you were to come back next week, the flowers are just starting to open, and then you get this complete iridescence. You can't see the green from the grass between the rows. You just kind of see a haze of lavender. And that's really, I love that.